Strap in for the world's fastest half hour. You're on the Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And brought to you by Hercules Tires. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Herbert and Marty Huff.
This is the Straight Line on Drag Racing. Thanks for stopping by our half hour of horsepower. Appreciate you being with us. We'll talk to both ends of the straight line spectrum today. First, the greatest drag racer who ever lived, Big Daddy Don Garlits, will be here. And one of the up-and-coming drivers of today, pro stocker Deric Kramer, joins us as well. We're in the beams and set to launch another edition of the Straight Line. Wherever you may be, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Straight Line on Drag Racing at MRN.com. Along with four-time IHRA Top Fuel champion and 10-time NHRA National Event winner Doug Herbert. And we are heading into the Spring Nationals at Royal Purple Raceway, and we'll talk to Deric Kramer about his third place standing right now in the Pro Stock ranks coming up here in just a minute. But first, we get to talk to the greatest drag racer who ever lived, Big Daddy Don Garlits. So it's always a pleasure to do that.
I mean, Big Daddy, what can you say? For anybody that doesn't know him, he's fun to talk to in the pit area. He's fun to watch him work on his cars. He's got a lot of stories and just a wealth of knowledge. So going to be great to have Big Daddy Don Garlits on the show. Looking forward to that. And the main reason why we're having him on the show, he's going to be the Grand Marshal at the Route 66 Nationals. So we'll talk to him a little bit about that and the upcoming race in Chicago at the Juliet Route 66 Raceway. And they're celebrating their 20th year, so they want to do it upright, and they're going to do it upright with Big Daddy. 20 years. It seems like just a couple of days ago we were doing the first run down Route 66 Raceway there in Illinois, and now 20 years later, it's been a great track for the NHRA to get into a big market like that, and you've had some success there as well. Yeah, I raced that first race they had there in 1998. We had a lot of fun doing that, and then I was fortunate enough to win the race. Ran a Tony Schumacher in the final round in Chicago, right? Tony's hometown track, and we put him on the trailer. That was pretty awesome. One of my great friend wins as well. So we're Chicago is another one of those places. There's a lot of things to do. They've got the riverboat gambling and of course everything there is to do in Chicago. And then we've got a racetrack too. It's similar to what we have here in Charlotte, also Las Vegas, Bristol, where there's the NASCAR track next door to the drag strip. So, you could go over to the NASCAR track, do the NASCAR race experience or something cool, and, also go into the drag races. So lots of fun things to do up there. Yeah, and so we'll talk about Chicagoland, and we'll talk a lot of history after this when we talk to Big Daddy Don Garlits.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store for O'Reilly Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant for only $6.99 a gallon. Protect your engine from overheating with O'Reilly Universal Pre-Mixed Antifreeze and Coolant, now $6.99 a gallon at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This May, experience the suspense as heroes clash metal to metal with heartbreak. Get lost in a drama without the predictable ending. No sappy romance, no special effects. Just one adrenaline-filled night where pure speed drives the plot. Coming soon to a track near you. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Night Race. Only at Kansas Speedway May 12th. Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com. Rated U for unexpected.
Welcome back to the Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's more with Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being on the show today, and it's always a great pleasure and honor to be able to talk to the guy that was voted by the NHRA as the greatest drag racer of all time, and he'll be attending the Route 66 Nationals May 31st through June 3rd as part of their 20th anniversary celebration. Of course, we're talking to Big Daddy Don Garlits. Big, how are you?
I'm great. How about you guys?
Doing great, Big Daddy. Good to hear from you. Good to talk to you. And we're excited about your being the Grand Marshal for the upcoming Route 66 race. And then, of course, it's always great to see you and talk to you anywhere that we are.
Well, I'm looking forward to that event. I hadn't been to Chicago in a number of years. I think the last time I was there, I ran my Superstock about 10 years ago. So it's going to be great to get over there and see some of my old fans and friends.
Hey, so Big Daddy, one of the things that you and I, when I saw you last year in Memphis, when we were over there and you came over and visited us at the brake school, we're talking to you a little bit about your 200-mile-an-hour dragster, the electric car. How's that project coming along, and how close are you to being able to go 200 miles an hour with that thing?
Well, believe it or not, we have not done any better with it than when I saw you the last time, because we made some changes, but then we lost one of our special motors, and that has not been replaced yet. That was a fancy motor, and we put a little more juice to it, thinking that would step it up, but it did not. It just burned up the motor. So presently the car is down, and it has not run now in about 6 months. And we're still waiting on some motor parts. And I do have the engineer coming from Tesla to take a look at everything and help us out a little bit and maybe give us some clues as to what we're doing wrong.
Oh, wow. Well, that's interesting. Because I drove a Tesla here a month ago or so, and I was shocked at how fast that thing was. For an electric car, you get in, the thing flies.
How fast did yours go?
We were over in Dubai, and so it was basically down a little, kind of a goat trail, basically. But the thing went 0 to 100 miles an hour in probably less than 10 seconds. I mean, it was fast. I was shocked at how fast it was.
Well, I had one off the showroom floor at one of my tests last year, and it went 12.5, 105 miles an hour, just a stocker, and I had 4 passengers with me.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's impressive, Yeah. It really is.
I mean, that's super stock time from a long time ago.
Right. Well, you were racing top fuel cars when that's about all as faster that they went.
I remember when my flathead fuel dragster ran exactly 12 and a half seconds, 105 to 110. So now an electric car that anybody can buy will do it.
Isn't that amazing? Hey, Big Daddy, one of the things that I always love to talk to you about is just your incredible knowledge of the history and the sport of drag racing. Give us, and I know there's a million of them, but what's a couple of your most favorite racing memories or races that you've won?
Well, one of the favorite ones, didn't you say that just whatever comes to your mind, is the 1984 Nationals. Art Malone came up to the shop in Ocala. We just finished, the museum was open, and I built my house. I've been out of racing about 6 to 8 months. And he said, let's go to the races. And I said, great, I'll get some tickets. He says, no, I want to race. I said, I don't have any cars. The newest car here is a 1981 model. He said, good, get it out of mothballs. I'll buy a new engine and clutch for it, and we'll go see what we could do. We got up to Indy, and they parked us down in the dirt. They were calling us just 2 old dinosaurs. On the third run, I set top speed of the meet, and we ended up winning the event. And, that always comes to my mind as one of my favorite moments.
Everybody had you put out to pasture, but old Big Daddy wasn't quite finished yet.
Not quite yet.
Tell us a little bit about that Dodge Demon and some of the stuff. I know you've been running that a little bit at a few races. That seems like a pretty neat deal.
Well, we did some test work for road and track for Chrysler. We tested a couple of the Demons, the one that they released to the public, not that test one that went 965, 140. That one was outlawed by NHRA. Officially in writing.
Wow.
And so Chrysler had to quickly regroup and build a car that would not go that fast or quick because they'd be criminally negligent if somebody got hurt in it. So the NHRA said no car can run on our track without a full cage and go that fast. So they slowed them down, and I ran 2 Demons through their faces for a whole day, as many runs as I could make. The best I could get was a 1052 131. So that makes it legal. when you only go that fast, you don't need a full cage. And that's the Demon that they're selling. Very fast car, even at that. I know I got an email from a guy just recently. He bought one, and that's what it run, and he wanted to know why his wouldn't go the 965, 140, like the original one did. Of course, I explained it to him. He said, well, what can I do to change it? And I said, I don't know.
Hey, one of the neat things, I took my dad, and obviously you friends with my dad longer than I've been alive. I took my dad. He wanted to go to the Smithsonian Museum, and we went up there and saw your Swamp Rat on display with a couple other drag racing cars in the Smithsonian. That was so cool. What an honor to be able to have one of your cars in the National Museum at the Smithsonian.
Yeah, when I was building that car, Bob Post came down to the Drag Racing Museum, and he saw how modern it was with the enclosed front wheels and all the carbon fiber and everything. And he said, this car is a national treasure. When you're through with it, we'd like to have it for the National Museum. And so we did give it to him in 1987 when we were through racing it. And it was on display for about 12 years. And then they took it off and changed the exhibit. But now they're building a new exhibit called America's Love of Speed, and the car will be again displayed, and this time this is considered a permanent exhibit, 20 years or more.
Wow.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And Don, you mentioned getting finished with your own museum back in 1984, and it's still going today and keeps you really busy. Talk about your museum in Ocala.
Well, we are. We're doing great. We're 42 years now in operation, 36 years at this location. We're right at exit 341 and Interstate 75, and we're only closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas, 9 to 5. And we always say, come early because it's big. There's 65,000 square feet to see, a lot of cars, a lot of artifacts. Most people are there at least a half a day. And we are enjoying between 45 and 50,000 visitors a year at the present time.
Wow, that is awesome. I that was one of my favorite things. Was I left Gainesville one year and had to go down to Orlando and drove right by the museum, got off, turned around, came back, and took had a great visit there. So, Big Daddy Don Garlits, thanks so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
One last thing before you get away, Doug. I just got a Herbert number 13 out of my stock, and I'm building an engine for a recreation of the Swamp Rat 1 when it was on gasoline, and that's the cam that's going in it.
Nice.
I've had it for years. This is a long-nose cam for the 51 through 54 Chryslers, and I've had this thing so long, off for what I was going to do with it. I was finally going into service.
Wow, that is cool. My dad would love that. I know he I know hearing stories about you coming over and staying at the house and with Pat.
Oh
and the
yeah,
kids
we loved your dad. He was a great guy.
Man, well, Big Daddy Don Garlits, my biggest hero in drag racing. Sure, happy to have you on the show, and we'll look forward to seeing you again real soon, and look forward to you being the Grand Marshal.
See you in Chicago.
Yes, sir.
Attending the Route 66 Nationals May 31st through June 3rd as part of their 20th anniversary celebration. That is Big Daddy Don Garlits joining us on the Straight Line. And when we return, the other end of the straight line spectrum, one of the up-and-comers of the sport today, Deric Kramer, will join us next.
Things happen fast in racing, and if you don't know where to look, you can miss it all. With Legend from Racing Electronics, you'll never miss another moment. Legend gives you live fan vision video, in-car cameras, and stats at premier National Series events, and the next generation race scanner for unfiltered driver and crew audio at any motorsports event nationwide. Race fans have never been closer to the action. Welcome to the future of the fan experience. Learn more by visiting racingelectronics.com.
Save on your next oil change when you purchase 5 quarts of O'Reilly conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for only $16.99, or upgrade to high mileage for $17.99. Extend the life of your vehicle and improve engine performance with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Live sports are the one true reality entertainment, where a single dramatic moment can become timeless. In NASCAR, Motor Racing Network's live broadcast elevates your senses to the sights, sounds, and struggles taking place on the racetrack.
Danica Patrick to the front of the field at Talladega. They are side by side behind her. Jimmy Johnson.
The power of radio to the imagination of the listener. Tune in to the Motor Racing Network. Visit MRN.com for an affiliate list in your local area.
You're listening to The Straight Line, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Now, back to Marty Huff and Doug Herbert.
Appreciate you being with us here on MRN.com here this afternoon in The Straight Line. And joining us on the Racing Electronics Hotline is the driver of the American Ethanol Chevy Camaro and currently third in Pro Stock points. Deric Kramer joins us. Deric, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Deric, tell us about it. I mean, the first time, obviously you've been racing Pro Stock here for several years, but the first time that I kind of paid attention to you and thought it was so cool was last year when you won that big burnout contest at Indy. That was pretty awesome in my book.
Yeah, I mean, that really saved my season, to be honest. I definitely am a competitive person, and after, like you said, I've been doing this for quite a few years, and kind of, I don't know, seeing the writing on the wall is probably the best expression I could use, but obviously we're not winning last year. We were just down on power. We're making good calls, and we feel like we proved that this year. But the burnout competition really kind of gave me a reason to get to the racetrack on the weekends. It was really starting to become hard for me to want to go. And I think without that burnout competition, I probably would have sat out the last end of the season as well. But at least that kind of brought some more life and brought some fun back to it. So I knew even if it wasn't going to be as competitive as I wanted to be, that there was at least a good reason to be there on the weekend.
And since then, American Ethanol has stepped up with your sponsorship to make this a full season sponsorship. Was it the burnout contest that really kind of set them forward to step up their game for your program this year?
I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, everybody there loved it. They got tons of publicity from it, so that was a big boost to my team and my team's morale in general. And I mean, there's nothing but good times had by all when we started doing that kind of thing. We knew it knocked off a few hundredths in the grand scheme of things, but at the same time we were behind well more than a few hundredths, so it wasn't really going to make that much difference.
Well, but you put on a show, right? I mean, drag racing,
absolutely.
People, fans go there to watch the show, and that's a show. That was awesome. I'm glad that you did that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun too. I had drivers and fans alike come up and ask how we were able to keep it in the water box that long, and how we would keep the car from washing out, stuff like that. I mean, it definitely was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, so tell us a little bit about Las Vegas. Las Vegas, you went to the final round. Yeah. You had a really good shot at winning that race. Just came up a little bit short, but all in all, not a bad weekend at Las Vegas for the four wides.
Oh, no, not at all. And I love the four wides. I've been saying since I started that I wanted to go to the four wides forever. And a couple of years ago, we got a chance to finally make that trip. And I actually did get a round win at the four wides out in Charlotte that year, because I always felt like I would do really well there, because it's so confusing and it's so different. But I think a second opportunity to do it at Vegas every year is going to be a lot of fun. And this year was definitely that. We had a really good car, and we were able to make I would say consistent runs, but I definitely we're a little more picky about how we run now. So that first run we made in qualifying was definitely the best, and there were things that I could have done in every individual round and qualifying run that I could have done a little bit better. I definitely like four wide for the wildness, let's call it.
Yeah.
Of anything can happen. At the same time, I thought I lost that race as soon as I let the clutch out, because Chris was so far ahead of me. I had no idea.
Now, during the off season, you were able to partner up with the guys at KB Racing, and that's where you're getting your horsepower now. Talk about that relationship between Greg and Jason and KB Racing, your program, and also Bo Butner as well.
Sure, yeah. So my crew chief, Michael Heiner, worked with Greg Anderson in the past and kind of fostered that relationship. And we kind of met with them initial conversation started actually in Denver of last year. We kind of broached the subject and kind of, we're kind of feeling whether or not they'd be open to an arrangement of some kind. And as the season progressed, we kind of got to the point where it was a definite possibility, and we would, kind of work things out right as the season came to a close. And those guys they're great. I mean, Jason is the one tuning on my car specifically. He'll come over and, do the engine maintenance and all of that, which is awesome. I get a chance to interact with him. He's hilarious. It's so much fun to be around. But they're the top of the class for a reason. They are always competitive no matter what. So it has definitely been fun to kind of learn their process and, get the insight that they have into drag racing that I wouldn't say I'm not accustomed to. It's just I wasn't exposed to it.
Well, you know what? That's not a bad. They're not a bad group to be learning from. So I think you're in good company there with those two guys. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, third in points right now. You've got some good momentum. How do you feel like? How's the season going? What do you feel like going into Houston and then back to another 4-wide race? What do you got in store for the rest of the year?
Well, it definitely. I'm super stoked about being third in points right now. That's great. It was never something I was looking for when I started racing. I was just, I always took it one round at a time. But now that now you can't help but look because you kind of know where you're at. Everyone talks about it. And you kind of look, and I'm like, it's definitely shows some consistency as far as my guys and my team. That we've been able to put up these kind of results, even though I haven't got, won a race yet. We're still right there in the hunt for number one in points. So we're really excited, and we don't want to settle for any more first losers. That's for sure.
So Bo Butner didn't win a race until last year, and he's the defending champ now. Could you be the 2018 edition of Bo Butner?
I mean, that would be awesome. I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch, but I try and I think I heard Jack Beckman say it best. My plan at the beginning of the year is to win 24 races, and we'll just see if I can do that.
Well, Deric Kramer, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you the rest of the year. Hopefully, we'll get to talk to you again. Go bring back a win.
Will do. Thank you very much, guys.
Driver of the American Ethanol Chevy Camaro, and joining us on the Racing Electronics Hotline, that is Deric Kramer. Joining us, heading into Houston, third in points, and one of the really cool stories so far early on in the 2018 season. More of the show coming up.
The weather's getting warmer, and that means it's time to start working on your yard. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up a Super Start Lawn and Garden Battery starting at $24.99. Springtime means yard work, so stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for a Super Start Lawn and Garden Battery you can count on. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
NASCAR Today Midday is your NASCAR source on and off the racetrack throughout the week.
It's so peaceful to get out in nature and just sit in the woods and watch the deer and bird.
Typically on our runs, there's a lot of conversation for 25 or 30 minutes, and then it gets quiet because you're sucking wind. But on the bike, especially at the racetrack and stuff, they're pretty easy rides.
Keep up with your favorite NASCAR stars each weekday on NASCAR Today Midday here on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
The Motor Racing Network is drawing lines every week on MRN.com. Choose the fastest line on Thursdays with the Straight Line, a nitro-fueled half hour showcasing the biggest names on the NHRA circuit. On Fridays, take the shortest line with the Inside Line, your source for NASCAR fantasy racing insight from experts in and around the garage. Don't miss the Straight Line and the Inside Line, Thursdays and Fridays at noon Eastern, only on MRN.com. You're staged and ready for another run on the Straight Line. Brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's Doug and Marty.
Thanks for being here on the Straight Line this afternoon. Hey, coming up this Memorial Day weekend, May 25th, 26th, and 27th, it is the Country 500 at Daytona International Speedway. Some of the greatest acts in country music. Toby Keith, Chris Stapleton, Billy Currington, Sugarland, and many, many more will be at the Country 500. It all takes place at Daytona International Speedway. Get your tickets now at country500.com. Want to get to our regular segment here, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's called Red Light, Green Light. And this week is definitely a green light because a new racing surface has been put down at Royal Purple Raceway in Houston. Now, it kind of came out of some bad circumstances because Hurricane Harvey, one of the worst hurricanes in U.S. history, blew through southern Texas, through Houston, and Royal Purple, when that thing came in, was basically a center for a lot of federal cleanup, and that's where they took a lot of the junked cars from the hurricane and put it all over the facility there. And because of that, through local and federal agencies, they were able to get a new surface down. So that's always really good to be able to do that. And as I understand it, the old surface at Royal Purple wasn't one of the greatest.
Well, it was initially. It was one of the best,
yes,
and then
yes.
The ground's a little bit unstable down there. It always kind of moves. They've had some water issues because it's basically at sea level. It might even be below sea level.
I think it's below sea level.
It's really a low track, so really good, corrected atmospheric conditions down there. Cars run really fast. The track, like I said, moves around. It sinks or rolls around, whatever, just because the ground's been unstable. So that's really good. They're putting new surface in there. It's probably going to be fast. You never know what the weather could be. If anybody that's been to Houston, it can be hot and muggy. It can be awesome. So you just never know. I would expect, though, with the new track, they're going to be, the NHRA is going to insist upon a lot of extra prep for a new track like that. Yeah. So they're probably going to be really, really fast as long as weather conditions even kind of cooperate.
Yeah, and you talked about the atmospheric conditions. Talk about that a little bit more in specifics real quick, because there's a lot of oxygen.
So low altitude like that, you've got a high barometric pressure. Humidity can vary, but a lot of times, they'll get cool wind, coming off the Gulf down there. You've got high pressure, barometric pressure. You've got, low corrected altitude. There's a lot of air. So the air is dense going into the engines, makes more power, and the cars go fast.
And with a new hookup and a new surface, it's going to be really fast this weekend, considering everything, including the conditions. So we want to thank Big Daddy Don Garlits. It's always an honor and pleasure to be able to talk to Big Daddy, and also Deric Kramer for joining us on the show. So for everybody involved, including Daryl Smith, and for Doug Herbert, I am Marty Huff. We will talk to you next week here on MRN.com and The Straight Line.